The football was great. The day was great. And if I'm giving it a grade, as far as the Club World Cup goes, that's a 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5, 9.5 out of 10. Neither did Trump. He had no idea what he was supposed to do. Nobody told him to get off the stage. So it's forgivable, but it's still funny as hell. You put us in the spot. Players and agents need to take some accountability for this because they've asked for these unbelievable price tags as far as how much we pay the bigger clubs to figure out ways to have additional revenue streams to pay for this shit. Pep Guardiola, he's just going from place to place, killing planets. It's amazing. But we still regard him as the best. I don't know. It's up to you. Certainly didn't win this competition. The other bald guy did, who happens to be Italian. Chelsea. Reece James actually asking President Trump, "Are you going to leave?" Like, I mean, it's pure comedy. I just don't think President Trump knew what the protocol. I don't think I thought he was supposed to stay there. Like, he does have a pretty big ego. Welcome back in once again. This is Unleashed. I'm Eric Wynalda. Just for fun, I'd like to do this really quick. Let's do the split screen of my fat head when this thing started, and then what I look like now. Can you hit a freeze? Good. Great. How about that? All right. The reason why I was able to do that is our good friends at NF1. There's their information. Check it out. There is a million ways to lose weight. I chose one, NF1. You should give it a shot. I also drink some of that stuff in the corner over there. It's tequila. It's really good for you. All right. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened since the last time we were able to talk, or at least I was able to come into the studio. It is summer. Obviously, folks are busy, and we've just endured I would say the best version of the Club World Cup. Obviously, a lot of money went into this deal. A lot of different layers of ways to complain about the competition. Some said this is the single worst thing that ever happened to soccer, likes of Jurgen Klopp and whatnot, because it forces our athletes to play more competitions. And, it puts them in harm's way to a certain extent. Funny moment there with Moretzka before he won the whole damn thing. Complaining about playing 63 games with Chelsea and making some comparison to Botafogo. And somebody raised their hand in their press conference and said, well, actually, they've played 73. To which he had no answer. He went dead silent as if to say, well, that didn't work out well. Obviously, soccer players in the modern era are playing more games possibly than ever. And the reason for that is, and this is a pretty good comment from Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who basically says, you put us in this position. I mean, go ahead and read it if you want. You put us in this spot. Players and agents need to take some accountability for this because they've asked for these unbelievable price tags, exorbitant rates that have gone inflation, if you will, as far as how much we pay soccer players these days, forces clubs, especially the bigger clubs, to figure out ways to have additional revenue streams to pay for this shit. Players are getting more money than they've ever had before. So there is only one solution, and that is to create more games, and more games to create more revenue and more sponsorship opportunities. And it is a never-ending cycle, or is a vicious cycle, I should say, until somebody puts an end to it. I like the last part of Rummenigge's comment about basically saying we got to get some logic has to at some point be our guiding light to figure out a way to come to the table to figure out what is a solution for players not playing so many soccer games and forcing clubs to put them in harm's way too many times. We had some really bad injuries throughout this competition. Ironically, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said that prior to Musiala's injury. I don't know how he feels about it now. Maybe it made his situation a little different. Because that is probably one of the best players in the world who suffered a horrific injury. And they're saying he's out 5 to 6 months. Sorry, I had that injury. It's 9 months. It's 9. I don't care how great you think our new medical teams are. That's not going to make the body heal any quicker, unless he's superhuman, which is a possibility. And if he's back on the field after 5 or 6 months, I'm going to start worrying more because his body certainly won't be ready to play. But he is in question for ultimately the World Cup, which is not the Club World Cup, and he's going to miss a lot of games, as is Alphonso Davies. So that's two guys that are on Bayern Munich's books who suffered some pretty bad injuries at a crucial time as far as only being a year. Alphonso Davies a little bit more than that, a year out of a World Cup competition. So Germany kind of reeling a bit. Now, people always ask me this, and this is off topic, but I'm just going to do it really quick. If you're worried about Germany or you're wondering what happened to Germany, Pep Guardiola happened to Germany. That's it. That's it. It's not too hard to figure out. It's the first guy that showed up at Bayern Munich and said, "This isn't a German team. I'm going to turn it into a like everything team." I mean, there wasn't a German on the field. First time it's ever happened. And you're wondering now why Germany is gone through this stint where they couldn't figure themselves out and they lost their identity to a certain extent. That's what happened. Pep Guardiola, he's just going from place to place, killing planets. It's amazing. But we still regard him as the best. I don't know. It's up to you. Certainly didn't win this competition. The other bald guy did, who happens to be Italian. Chelsea. Who would have thought, right? PSG, as good as they have been throughout this competition, only conceding one goal up until the final, right? Beating the likes of Bayern Munich, Atleti, and a couple of MLS teams. Botafogo was the only one that got a goal on them, and then they go into a final, and they run into the conditions. Might be something to do with it in New York. Our president was in attendance. We'll get to him in a second. He doesn't know when to vacate the stage. Some funny pictures there with Cole Palmer. But Maresca came up with the plan that was going to work within the conditions of the game, and they absolutely dismantle PSG. Unfortunate incident after the game with Luis Enrique attacking Joao Pedro. It's still yet to be seen what that suspension is going to look like. I mean, damn, talk about killing a lot of goodwill in one moment. Luis Enrique certainly had a rush of blood to the head, and the frustrations, maybe came out at the wrong moment. I still love the guy, and I'll forgive him because we are human and we all make mistakes. But Chelsea had a better plan, man. They had a better plan. Cole Palmer showed up. Joao Pedro is the real deal. It changes things. It changes things. For everybody looking at Chelsea right now, that's two competitions, whether the Conference League is a big deal to you, but the Club World Cup is a big deal. And we saw the money. We saw how much money it generated. And it's just another means of figuring out how to pay these guys. And how many players are on their roster at this point, how many forwards Chelsea has. And whether they get rid of Jackson is yet to be seen. But Joao Pedro changes things, man. Changes the way I look at him. They have, a very sharp point at the top of that spear. And this guy can play. And he proved it on a couple of occasions. 2 great goals prior to the final. And then you'll link it up with Cole Palmer and a very well-timed run and a great, great finish. So Chelsea are your victors here. And again, the funny moment at the end, with not everybody understanding Reece James actually asking President Trump, "Are you going to leave?" Like, I mean, it's pure comedy. I just don't think President Trump knew what the protocol. I don't think I thought he was supposed to stay there. Like, he does have a pretty big ego, or maybe he just wanted to be a part of that moment, which has certainly been a source of a lot of our laughter, and obviously for the people that hate Donald Trump, they're going to go after him. But pretty funny moment. Obviously, cool to have our president paying attention to the Club World Cup, whether you like Infantino or not. As far as this competition goes, that is what we need to discuss. Was this a success? Does everybody understand why it happened? Right? The Confederations Cup used to be, or still is to a certain extent, the precursor to the World Cup. It's kind of like a run through. It gives everybody an opportunity to see what those venues look like and give everybody an opportunity to at least fail once or twice prior to the big show, which when it happens, we certainly don't want to mess that up. So that's why we do it. And we usually do it in the venue where the World Cup will be. This is nothing new. This is something that is all part of the process. But this one had a different flavor. Right? They put a lot of money into this. You had teams, Auckland, for example. I mean, I was looking at the numbers. They basically, as far as the money that they received for participating in this competition, regardless of the fact that they lost pretty bad, They ended up walking away with enough money, reward money, if you will, that will fund the next 3, 4, maybe even 5 years for that club. So in that sense, a pretty cool deal. Our MLS teams didn't fare so well, but all things being equal, we look at the other results. There's nothing to be ashamed of. So our participation was what it was. Don Garber actually came out and said that he's hoping for more teams to be involved in the future, and he's really hoping that the Club World Cup comes back to the United States again, which probably won't happen, Don. It's a World Cup year, and that's why they did it. But good luck. That's 4 years from now. So I'm just asking if you're still around, but we'll see how that works out. My guess is it will probably be in the venue of the World Cup. The Club World Cup will be in the venue of wherever the next World Cup is. That's just how this works. But was it a success? That is the question. Did we enjoy this competition? Was it entertaining? A lot of people, a lot of the haters that were started the competition would say, I can't support this. This is too much. It's asking too much of our players, and whatever side you were on. By the time we got near the end, there were some really cool storylines, right? The Brazilian teams doing as well as they did was very cool. I felt that PSG's story kind of, it warmed our hearts to a certain extent because we couldn't help but root for the guys. And Chelsea, doing what they did was a completely unexpected victor. I don't think a lot of people had Chelsea on their bingo card to win this thing, but they did. All things being equal, though, and yeah, understanding that this was an opportunity for us to check out what it would be like to play these kind of games in the United States. Obviously, in Canada and Mexico will be included in that when the World Cup is here. However, our venues got a real serious look. We didn't see sold-out stadiums. That won't be the case when we get to the World Cup. Those games will be sold out. But I think we got a pretty good idea, at least those marketing groups got an idea of where the market is and which games are going to be the marquee games and which games are certainly going to be a challenge as far as, making it look the part. But all things being equal, man, I really enjoyed this competition. I'm a little surprised at myself for saying that. But the Club World Cup was a success. I do think the money initially was, um, the factor that drew you in. That said, wait, they're playing for what? Like, how much money are they going to get? I mean, it wasn't just the Seattle Sounders putting on the shirt, calling it a cash grab. At the end of the day, these clubs that were able to participate, probably outside of the fact that a couple guys got hurt, and unfortunately, we could look at that as there's too many games. Anybody can make that argument. But as far as the entertainment level of what these games provided, it was worth it. It was good. They were good soccer games. And what people are also need to understand, and I think everybody within the world of football and also understands, is World Cup competitions are forced friendship. These are players who can only play for one country, and you get what you got. You can pick only the best players from your nationality. So it poses the question, which is better? The answer is simple. Club soccer, club football will always be better as far as the overall value of the games and the quality, because these are teams that essentially are built around talent. The Real Madrids of the world. The PSG has become an amazing story because they're not the biggest names, but they certainly are players that put themselves in the top 20, top 30 players in the world. We get cheated out of a couple of teams that we probably wanted to see more of, but Atletico Madrid, wasn't great. We got to see the flavor of a World Cup through the club breakdown. And again, the Brazilian teams were absolutely phenomenal to watch. Just if you think about it from their perspective, and if you really are being honest, this was their best way for them to showcase their talent against the likes of the top English teams, the top Spanish teams, the top French teams, and to essentially showcase their talent as if to say, hey, look, I'm here. This is how much money I make in Botafogo or Fluminense. Maybe I could make some more money if I show these people what I'm all about. And that is already happening, right? I mean, even the Joao Pedro story, he's not going to celebrate against Fluminense because he played for them. But is a pretty unique situation to go from that route from Fluminense to the likes of Brighton, and now finds himself in Chelsea, a Club World Cup winner. Who knows what that guy's going to do? Who knows how high that guy's value is going to go? I think it tells a neat story. I think the club level football will always be better than international football, because it's just that's not really an opinion. That's just factual. Look at the teams that are built. Look at how many players play for their respective nations, and some of them are the best from their nationality. And when you stack it all together, what you do get is true entertainment. Cole Palmer was terrific. Love that. Thought it was hilarious that we had the two, probably worst hair days standing right next to each other on the stage at the end. I think you know who I'm talking about. I thought that was funny. I think just the look on Cole Palmer's face is priceless. He had no idea what was going on. I got news for it. Neither did Trump. He had no idea what he was supposed to do. Nobody told him to get off the stage. So it's forgivable, but it's still funny as hell. But my point in all of this is that the Club World Cup was something to behold. I loved it. I started out being very pessimistic. I didn't think that the games were going to be as entertaining as they were. Everybody was focused on the weather or the attendance. The bottom line is the football was great. The payday was great. Unlikely champion, but this was a great precursor for the World Cup because it gave our organizers a chance to know what's what. But all things being equal, man, I'm a fan. I am not a fan of certain things about the way that went down, but the football was great. The day was great. And I would call this, if I'm giving it a grade, as far as the Club World Cup goes, that's a 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5, 9.5 out of 10, maybe an A. Not an A+, but certainly an A.